Hi guys, and welcome to my very first Path of Exile guide. This is going to be a Flicker Strike Slayer guide, and this guide is for Path of Exile beginners slash people new to Flicker Strike. This guide isn't for extremely experienced Path of Exile players. If you are one of those players, then you'd be probably better off looking at something on poe.ninja and looking at what people are doing there. However, majority of my audience does not have as much experience with Path of Exile, so I'm trying to put together something quite simple for beginners who, want to get into Flicker Strike, which is, by the way, an amazingly fun build that will destroy a lot of content very, very fast. And yeah, it's very, very fun. So what are the strengths and weaknesses of Flicker Strike if you've never played it? First of all, it's an extremely fast build. It's a fast mapper. It can really blast through tier 16 maps in under 2 minutes. This includes killing the boss as well. You can just blow up the bosses. I will do a few showcases at the end of the video so that you can see how it plays once you sort of get to the end game. It is also an extremely easy build to play. It's basically one button play style. The only other thing you do is you start your Blood Rage at the start of the map, but other than that, you just hit Flicker Strike and just zoom around the map, super easy. In addition to this, because Flicker Strike moves you around and teleports you around, it means you don't need to dodge anything. This is good and bad. I mean, it's good because it's easy and yeah, it's you just click the button, you don't have to dodge. It's bad because it does mean that sometimes you will die to telegraphed attacks that you can't avoid because you're just teleporting around and you can't react to it. The build is relatively cheap to get started, just the sort of like around like level 70, all you need is 1 or 2 sort of couple of chaos worth of uniques, so pretty cheap to get going. Obviously, you can scale the build into endgame with some more expensive uniques and some high investment, but to get started, it's not too bad. It's an extremely fun, satisfying build. Loads of people love to play it. It's very, very fun. It's reflect immune, so you don't need to worry about any reflect damage, and it can basically handle all of the possible map modifiers. Obviously, some are slightly better, some are slightly worse. There are some to avoid, which I will talk about or show in the path of building a bit later. But in general, you can just close your eyes and do any map mods if you want to. With regards to the weaknesses, it is mostly the fact that you're kind of not a great bosser and you will sometimes die due to a random one-shot. This is because you are just teleporting around the map and, sometimes something will get you and you will die. And it's also, because of that, it's also not that good at like very pinnacle content of Path of Exile. You probably will not be killing Uber bosses and you will not be killing like tier 17 map bosses, doing Ravaged Blight, stuff like this, probably not. But if you want to just be blasting tier 16 maps, this is probably one of the better builds out there, and I can definitely highly recommend it. Now, is Flicker Strike a good build for the current league, Settlers of Kalguur? And short answer, yes, it is extremely good for this league. The reason is that the main draw or sort of a mechanic of this league is farming gold, and due to its nature of being very fast and efficient at clearing maps, that makes Flicker Strike one of the best builds to just generating high amounts of gold very, very quickly, which then allows you to engage with the Settlers of Kalguur mechanics, and your farmers, your mappers, your boats, etc. Also, Flicker Strike is perfectly capable of killing all of the bosses in Settlers of Kalguur as well. I've killed them all, no problem. So you can basically engage with all of the content. So yes. Short answer, yes. Long answer, definitely yes. Very, very good for the current league mechanic. Now we're going to take a quick look at Path of Building. For those of you who are totally new to Path of Exile, Path of Building is a third-party tool which is basically a must-have, so you should definitely get it and load the build in there. You can find the link to Path of Building code for this build in the description down below. But basically, it's a tool that helps you visualize and calculate mechanics for different Path of Exile build. So for those of you who know what it is, you're gonna be able to follow what we're going to talk about now. So we have a bunch of leveling trees. The first one is we're going to start with Frostblades. I really like Frostblades for leveling at the start. I think it's very, very fun, very, very strong, and I used Frostblades until level 38. At level 38 is when I make the switch to Flicker Strike. There's a couple of reasons for it. You can have the mark on hit support gem at this level, and in general, you're starting to get slightly better weapons where it starts to feel a bit better. Some other creators recommend switching to Flicker Strike a lot later, and that's fine, you can do that. I personally don't like switching to the target skill that I'm going to be using at like level 60. I want to be using it as early as possible, and in my experience, level 38 is around the earliest you can really switch to Flicker Strike and it not feel really, really awful. So obviously we have a few wheels here, a few skill trees, you know, with our like final level 94 as well. I have a huge nodes section as well, in which I describe everything here. So you definitely want to you're going to want to have a quick read through here. We have the guide overview. We have the level description of the leveling and skill trees. We have some leveling tips. We have some tips on changes for bossing. We have a rundown of all the items that you want, what modifiers you're looking for on each item. We have a description of all of the links and skill gems and alternatives that you can use. You know, we have Pantheon bandits. We have some suggestions on Atlas strategies. Basically, whatever I thought would be useful for a beginner starting with Flicker Strike who might not know it as well. What would be useful, you know, I've put it in here. Obviously, if there's anything that's missing that you don't know that you would like to ask, you know, feel free to ask in the comments down below. There's also a Discord server that I run. If you're interested, feel free to join and ask there. I'm always online, available to help. Now, other than the skill trees, we have the skill tree. We have the initial one for Frostblades, level 1 to 38. Then we have like a basic Flicker Strike one from level 38 to around 68. And then we have like a final setup that I run on Flicker Strike. Again, as I mentioned at the start of the video, this is basically like a beginner's Flicker Strike build, so you know it doesn't rely on any crazy like Watcher's Eyes, which then might make you use slightly different skills if you have like a crazy Herald of Purity Watcher's Eye or something. I don't use stuff like this. This is supposed to be a fairly basic build that's still capable of absolutely destroying tier 16s. With regards to item sets, we have a couple. We have an early maps and an end game set. The main difference between those is in early maps or like level 51 onwards, really you really want to pick up this Terminus Est unique sword. This helps you with your frenzy charge generation, which is extremely useful or basically necessary for using Flicker Strike. And then once you get replica Farrels for fur or just the basic Farrels non-replica version, then you can get rid of the Terminus Est, and then instead I switch to a two-handed axe weapon. And the rest of the items are mostly just like, you know, resistances, life, some attributes, stuff like this. Nothing too crazy. It's not supposed to be too complicated. I'm trying to make it as accessible as possible to someone playing Flicker Strike for the first time. Again, any questions, feel free to let me know in the comments. Something worth highlighting is that we have an Enlighten aura setup in this final Flicker build. This is something that you're going to want to understand and know how it works. Enlighten allows you to use more auras, basically. However, it's quite an expensive gem, so you probably won't be able to use it from the start. It'll probably take you quite a while to get it. Until then, you can replace Enlighten and Pride with like an Enduring Cry and Urgent Orders support. I also have that in the notes, so if you read the notes about the skill gems, you'll know all about what you can and can't do and when you should do it. And yeah, that's more or less what I wanted to talk about and what I wanted to show. I hope some people find this useful. I personally absolutely love Flicker Strike. It is by far my favorite build in Path of Exile. I usually league start with it and then take it to like tier 16 maps. I get my Void Stones. And I absolutely love playing it. I hope you do too. Again, like I mentioned, if you're a super experienced Flicker Strike player, this probably won't be terribly useful for you. However, if you are a new Flicker Strike player, relatively new Path of Exile player, I highly recommend trying Flicker Strike at least once, and I hope this is the guide which will help you do it without too much stress. If anything is unclear, yet again, feel free to ask in the comments. And now I will do a few showcases of, some T16 maps, some Maven invitations, so that you can get a feel for how strong this sort of basic Flicker Strike build can actually get. So yeah, thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to subscribe, give me some constructive criticism. I'm perfectly willing to make more Path of Exile content, and I'm planning to do so. And yeah, thank you very much for watching. Make sure to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.
One of my captives wore many faces, yet kept her true face hidden. Now, she cannot escape her true face.
One loss, nothing to be ashamed of.
Practice makes perfect. My spirit is dead.